Hello, my name is Grumpy. Grumpy Eye. Grumpy Eye. Grumpy Eye.
Especially the past few days that I'm toxic, that I'm so negative, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, honestly, at this point, after I watched this thing, I was like, am I wrong here? Am I the negative one? I mean, I guess I am, because I can't get fucking excited about this. But yeah, let's watch it, and in the end, I'm going to tell you what I think. Maybe I missed something. I don't know, but let's do it.
Meetings. Hands down the most exciting element in all of game development. Now, everyone that has ever made a game will tell you that it's gathering in a meeting room and talking about stuff that's really their very favorite part of the process. Yes, the best days in game dev are the ones full of meetings, and the best behind-the-scenes content is always incredibly meeting-focused. Now, imagine a summit, an entire week dedicated to hashing out the plans for the next month, quarter, year, and sometimes beyond. Yes, exciting stuff, I know. All kidding aside, summits are an essential element of game dev we don't often get to explore. So when we
I love the t-shirt or the hoodie. Is that like a brand?
heard that the core technology, network, and engine teams were coming together
Like
to discuss
McDonald's,
how
but
best to
Whataburger.
move from persistent entity streaming into tackling the immense server meshing, we figured you might just indulge us in trying something a little different this week. So we set up some cameras and grabbed a few willing participants just minutes after completing their second day of summits to get a candid, unfiltered look inside one of the most important Star Citizen summits of 2023. And let me tell you, January's been full of them. So to spare you the full effect of 5 days of meetings, we'll be spreading these out over the next few weeks.
Okay, so that's why we saw like Star Citizen Lives with people that are not from UK, like from other teams that were appearing there because they were there for the summit. I'm gonna try to be fair with this one, although the first time I watched it, I got a bit pissed off.
Continuing our look at content being developed for 3.19 and beyond. So, after just a little ado, we present to you the Server Meshing Strike Team Q1 2023 Development Summit Post-Meeting Review. Name pending.
Do you need me to look into the camera or is that right? Okay. Okay.
Meshing Summit Day 2.
Just stick it in your pocket.
Okay. Oh,
Inside your.
I am in this one.
Yeah, there you go. I didn't know what you'd written.
I wrote Benny B.
Buying
I
time.
can do this if they're watching me and go away.
Oh, is it called recting?
Please, whatever.
Shit. Let me edit that. Refracting. There you go.
What are you guys doing here?
Well, I'm visiting
the same on
UK
Twitch,
to
though?
discuss server meshing with the rest of the team.
We're doing a summit
Yep.
to try and plan for the next deliveries of Pyro and server meshing.
So summits in general, especially this one, is really where all the teams connect because, you know, with the pandemic, a lot of people have been working from home. So summits become really important because it allows us to reconnect together. So we meet
Astro
in one
Chronicles.
location. This time it's in the UK. And we have representative of every team. So most of the leads in every team.
It's the first time that we're meeting as a team for a lot of us. A lot of people joined the company. A lot of people joined those teams and they've never met so far. So it's just great. Like we have someone from Korea, Montreal, we have people from all over, you know. So it's also
Do they actually have a team in Korea?
a strong aspect of the summits.
This is a great opportunity for us. This is the first time ever we've
What's
had
up,
the Strike
Legion?
team all in one place, all at one time. This is our kind of event,
You're actually named UBMTL Legion.
which is assembled
Amazing.
moment for server meshing. This is the time we get 3 core teams together to actually work out the final nuances of the architecture to build this system.
There are many teams are involved, and to get the teams on the same page, yeah, we're just planning an everyone in a room, talk for 1 week.
All right, I'm gonna stop for a second. I said that I'm not going to react to the chat that much because I'm trying to do a react for this because this is going to be posted on YouTube. But I am glad that Legion is here because Legion, you can see in the name, Ubi, he is a Ubisoft developer. And I would love if you, Ubi, first off, yeah, we still got to do a stream together. But I would love if you also commented on this because maybe I didn't really understand everything when I watched it the first time today. But honestly, it seems like they haven't even started working on server meshing. Like when you can see that in the start of the video, they just started having like summits and like trying to figure out how to do server meshing. And like, wasn't server meshing supposed to happen like in 2018 and then 19 and then 20? And then like, okay, it was COVID, but then 21, 22, 23. Like 2 years ago, I think it was like 2 years ago, CitizenCon, they showed us the whole thing, like the how server meshing is going to work. They said they experienced a few things back then, but got blocked because of some issues they got into.
Aligning our goals that we can just go out and crank at the code without less communication than we would have without it. Many people are already working together for a long time, so it's makes communication easier if you know each other and getting forward to agreeing on goals. Based on that, we can more efficiently execute toward a goal because especially in a global company.
Yeah, as far as I remember, that issue was that the iCache wouldn't like scale or whatever the thing was. But like iCache wasn't just doing it for them, so they needed to do PES.
Where time zones are, it's kind of hard. Sometimes I think about software development is like an oil tanker, where it runs good into one direction, but as soon as you want to change direction, it takes a long time because we need to get everyone has a slightly
something along those lines,
how
yeah.
stuff works, and to get everyone really understand how stuff should work on a more detailed level. It's a lot of work and align it.
But here's the thing.
Everybody's
I would expect this summit to happen like back in 2017 if they announced server meshing for 2018. But apparently it didn't happen like up until now, up until January this year.
put their stuff in. We plan it out. We discuss approaches, strategies on how we're going to intertwine our work. And this allows us to be on the same page so that we can then work together to achieve this very specific objective and not just be building technology for fun. The objective of this summit is to flesh out the exact roadmap for server meshing based on all of the work we've been doing for PES. So PES is the state of the simulation that's now persisting. That's great. It's behind us. Now we need to actually server mesh.
The major goal of this summit is to reflect back on what we've done and see how we can do it better for the next milestones on server meshing. What did we forget? What can we do better? How can we better organize ourselves so we keep moving forward and we don't do what we've had to do a lot for the previous delivery, which is think and create as you go. And there will always be a little bit of this in game development. It's normal. You need to have this creativity. You need to keep that, but we also need to get a little bit better at planning and anticipating some of the challenges.
The goal of the summit is really to flesh out the steps to get there with the objective to ship a second solar system. That's really the primary objective.
What do you call a jump point for you? Because we are talking a lot of the low technical stuff.
That's what I want to know. I would, some of a secondary goal is talking about.
Goodbye. Secondary goal would be talking about the low technical groundwork to enable features like jump point.
All right, so before we continue, because Avon said that they haven't worked a tiny bit on this, and here's the issue they have, at least they told us that they have. January 2021, this is persistent streaming and server meshing, and you can see that all of the teams were working, like basically all of the teams were working on server meshing. Some of them stopped in December. What is MFT? Mission Feature Team. They continue working throughout 2023. Vehicle Feature Team 2, okay. So these guys apparently finished. I mean, it doesn't matter, like, maybe they finished, maybe they didn't. They're probably just gonna, like, go back to the whole thing. I know that you can't see the whole screen. This is, like, a scene that I made for reacting. But, yeah, so server meshing was being worked on, at least that's, like, what we thought. But, yeah, let's continue.
So this is day 2, I think, of the summit. So we've done a first retrospective of all of the PES work, issues we've encountered, problems we've had, things we want to avoid. And this is officially the first day of actually digging into meshings.
On our second day, we talked about, what did I talk about?
Day 2, we have drunk so much coffee.
Day 2 has been super great in that we've aligned a lot of our different roadmaps. Every team gets to have their own sort of view on the project, and I think today we really came together as this is the critical path that we need to achieve. Everything else is gravy, but we have the critical path is really clearly identified, which is a big deal in the size of this project.
Server meshing, the plan for persistent entity streaming and server meshing, they were designed to be done simultaneously at the same time. This is going back to late 2020. We couldn't do that. It just wasn't practical in the end. So we had to devote all our attention to doing persistent entity streaming. This was during lockdown, so we did all of this while we're all working from home. We're now in a position with the server meshing.
Wait, what?
Practical in the end.
Now, this is the thing that I didn't understand the first time.
This is going back to late 2020. We couldn't do that.
Path is really clearly identified, which is
what I think that they were saying is that they did PS in 2020.
Big deal in the size of this project.
During the
server meshing,
lockdown.
The plan for persistent entity streaming and server meshing, they were designed to be done simultaneously at the same time. This is going back to late 2020. We couldn't do that. It just wasn't practical in the end. So we had to devote all our attention to doing persistent entity streaming.
Oh, so the idea started in 2020. Okay.
This was during lockdown, so we did all of this while we're all working from home. We're now in a position with the server meshing stuff. And I kind of lost my train of thought. I was going to say something really good and I forgot it was.
Yeah, we know what the critical path is, which is that's the most important thing in these technology projects.
Yeah, they didn't work on server meshing.
Very large, and so sometimes you lose track of what the actual objective is. And our objective is to get a second solar system online as fast as possible.
And that's the thing, like, before PES, like last year, when we started waiting on PES with 318, I made a video where I said, that's great, PES is great, but have they even worked on server meshing? Like, that was like around the time when Chris had that like famous letter of the chairman where he said like, yeah, you're gonna have like 318 drop in like June, July, whatever, into PTU, and then by the end of the year, we will probably be getting server meshing. And I was like, how is that going to work? Like, are you even working on server meshing? Do you think that like server meshing is a thing that you can do in like a week? And then they started having like meetings in January. And that's why I think that like server meshing like is not going to come this year, but the next year, maybe, and it's going to be a static server meshing. So
server meshing,
I am like losing my faith, honestly.
Technology, but it's to get.
And I know that people have been calling me overly negative and all of that. I understand that this had to happen. I understand that they had to have like a summit and all of that. But like, I've been here for like 2.5 years. I know people that have been here for like 11 years now. Why didn't they start with server meshing? That's like the main question. Well, they couldn't because they didn't have PES. Well, why didn't they do PES and server meshing at the start so they can have like a fresh start and like build on top of that like if you're building an MMO, I guess you would start with like the most integral part of the MMO experience, and that would be server meshing. But they didn't. Okay, understandable. They probably didn't have enough money, enough experience. The technology was not there yet. Whatever, doesn't matter. But whatever it was, like 11 years in development, and they're like just starting working on server meshing for an MMO. And like we don't have a definite like answer like when we're gonna get all of this. There was a post from CAG. They mentioned that this is not a start. Can you share that post, Astro, please?
The second solar system online. Now we have a rough roadmap of the different steps we need to do to get our second solar system online. And so now we start arguing about the later steps and the strategies after that.
We're tackling a lot of really difficult problems at the moment. Server meshing is one of the toughest problems to solve in video game development, and we've gotten to the point now we're getting persistent entity streaming.
Thank you, Astro.
Shippable.
I'm going to check it out later.
Opens up lots of opportunities to be able to get this quite impressive system built. So yeah, there's good stuff happening here. So the first phase is the separation out of the replication layer. That unlocks the Pyro jump gate stuff. That also unlocks the server meshing stuff. We've been talking about the kind of zones and authority.
I'm just like, what's the word? Bedazzled. This is like a new asteroid field. All the rocks here are like pointy. I guess this is like for Pyro.
Stuff. That also unlocks the server meshing stuff. We've been talking about the kind of zones and authority, but you're much better off talking to a proper engineer about this kind of stuff. But yeah, we're getting a good handle on this stuff. We're getting a good plan for delivery.
We have delivered the PES technology, and now we need to build on what we built there, defining more sub-steps to go out to actually bring Pyro in the hands of the player.
This is a really complicated system. And we had to learn how to do it. There's been a lot of experimentation, there's been a lot of invention. When we had our initial plan at the beginning of 2021, late 2020, there was a lot of stuff in there that we knew we had to build but didn't quite know how to build it. When we actually came to actually build those interesting systems, we had to we found problems. We found stuff that was never expected. We found limitations of the technology, we found limitations of what the hardware could do. So we very much had to get our engineers to invent our way around the problem. So this is very much a feedback. This is a learning experience to figure out how we need to build server meshing. The key thing that we're doing with this is server meshing is also tied into the Pyro, the delivery of the jump gates to get to Pyro. It's not quite the same problem, but it also kind of is. When you actually do a jump to get to Pyro, we have to transfer authority from the Stanton DGS to the Pyro DGS. What we want to do, of course, is have multiple DGS per star system, but we're separating the actual jump.
Wait, DGS is like dedicated game server, right?
Gate stuff from the actual server meshing stuff, so that we get to the point so we can actually assure Pyro's delivery, and whilst we worry about the
So what I understand here is that they want to have a dedicated server for the jump gates.
Server meshing
or the jump itself.
So we're actually, those are now, from our perspective, two different problems. So very early on, we're going to be tackling what we're calling separation of the replication layer out from the DGS. So that's the thing which replicates all our data. It allows communication. It's a single source of truth in memory for the state of the entire universe at any given time. That's going to get separated out from the DGS that currently holds all the fun simulation stuff that's happening at the moment. That's a first key step, both to delivering Pyro, all the technical backend for the jump gates, and it's also our kind of first big step for server meshing. So that's what we're going to be tackling initially. The design that we're putting in now, we've had for a couple of years, and we've been refining it over that time. In the time we're building persistent entity streaming, there have been bits and pieces of server meshing on there that we needed to get done. But we're now in a position now to really, now we've got persistent entity streaming down there as a kind of foundational piece. That then opens up the opportunity to really kind of get this design that we've had, that we've honed, to really knuckle down and actually get it dashed out and get the first version out. Static server meshing, that is. This is a piece of work that's going to last for quite a long time. There'll be ongoing stuff for quite a while.
Moving to the goal, even 5-6 years ago when we started with object container streaming, where we started to split up the game into smaller chunks, and then moving from there, having stuff only partially loaded on the clients, having stuff partially loaded on the server, and then decoupling the persistent state. And now the next steps are to decouple it more into more logical units to execute the code, which actually server meshing is. So yeah, it's really a continuation, and over time, the more you understand of the problem, the more you know what you need to do. So yeah, that's why every year most likely we have a summit once per year on this topic for the last N years to refine what we do and what exactly we need to do after we got the step near.
That's the critical path to the first.
Like, look, on the positive notes, you can see that this time they're serious about it. And this time it looks like they're actually going to do it. But again, Astro just sent me like a link to something that Xylo said, so we're going to check it out in a second. But yeah, that's like that's like the maximum of positivity I can have like at this point about
we get
the whole IC, honestly.
Game, which is the dynamic mesh. So we all have our views on this, but now it's really, we're getting into the gray view. Like, how is this gonna work? Here's cases we have to deal with. Like, what if a player dies into a jump tunnel, right? What happens to the missions, right? What happens to the persistent state of these tunnels? Do they exist? Do they not exist? Do they respawn? So we talk about not necessarily the gameplay aspect of it, like I'm giving you guys an example now, but really the technology aspect of it. So do these zones keep existing? How do we reuse them? Do we want to reuse them? What's the effect?
Also, this is music that I haven't heard ever in Star Citizen. I might be wrong, but this could be music for Pyro system.
PES, right, for these zone transition subsystems. So
at least I don't remember this song.
The highlight of it has been really about identifying that and then how we make it dynamic.
The best thing which came out of today is
it will fit Pyro,
out of summits. It's to get alignment, that everyone gets the same idea into their mind in a detailed level. This is, that's general alignment. That's not.
After day 2, I think the biggest question is still how we're gonna operationalize the dynamic mesh. And so, we still have these big statements like, oh, we're gonna request additional DGSs and then assign them. Now we're gonna have to flesh out, how do we request them? How do we know they're ready? How do we assign them? How does that actually work? Is going to be the key to the next steps.
That will then be built over the coming months. And of course, it's not just us as well as the strike team. We have, 50 or so game teams that are also going to have to take this code and then have to adapt all their functionality that they have across Star Citizen to use all this cool technology. So yeah, this is the start of server meshing in its current form. In our case, it's cramming a lot of developers into a room, closing the doors, getting them to drink coffee and talking a lot. It's very much a list of stuff that we've got to determine. We basically have a list of stuff that we need to nail down. Open questions, miscommunications between teams. We need to get these 3 key teams all aligned, all pointing in the same direction, so they all fully understand what it is they're building. We resolve the technical niggles that we have between these teams, so they really understand what it is they're making. We correct problems before they happen, so there's misunderstandings between the interfaces, between the teams that can be quite expensive to fix. Having a summit like this allows us to fix these problems in advance and fix them much more cheaply. So yeah, we need to just, this is what gives us the solid plan that we're going to be working to for the next year. So
client, split DGS, replication layer. No, I'm not going to understand anything here.
Touch wood, we're in a position now to finally push on and get the very first version, which is static server meshing, in place. We're bound to find other problems on this journey, but we can invent our way. We know we can invent our way around these problems. So yeah, we may occasionally get slowed down, but we don't get. We're still determined to deliver this.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that PES is not just the technical harbinger we all knew it would be. It was also the critical experience necessary to review, amend, and evolve existing plans for server meshing with the lessons learned along the way. that it is a variety of technologies, including the long-awaited jump points that will enable the addition of Pyro and star systems beyond. And that people really, boy, do they really love to just sit down for an interview just 5 minutes after sitting in intense all-day meetings. Whew. And let me tell you, I owe some people some dinners. Now, we'll be back with more traditional ISC features and return visits to the Meshing Strike Team Summit in the coming weeks. And don't forget to keep your eyes on the
There's gonna be more of these.
RobertSpaceInitiatives.com website and socials for information on the pending release of Alpha
Maybe by the end of it, we're gonna know, like, are we getting closer to the date?
318. It's got salvage, cargo,
Yeah, this
persistence,
meeting
and
was
more.
on 10th of
And
January.
it seems there's a new Scorpius. The things you learn on Twitter. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee, and we'll see you all here next week.
All right, so before I end this, this is gonna go on YouTube as a separate video, but before I end this and before I give my final remark, we gotta check this out, and this is something that Xylo said. The takeaway from today's episode should not be that work just started, because that's simply not the case. Summits are not the beginning of work. Summits are traditionally a regrouping where people bring the lessons learned from the past year's worth of work together to determine what of the existing plan should be reinforced and where to course correct when necessary. The Server Meshing Summit is no exception. A quick look at the public roadmap will show that work has been happening on both server meshing and jump points for some time now, with 6 teams on jump points and 19 teams on server meshing over the course of the last several years. That's what I showed you a second ago. Even back to before the public roadmap's current format can display. Sure. The episode is an experiment in multi-episode storytelling. Not sure that it's working, honestly, at least for me. So all the info and answers won't be present in the first installment. So yeah, they're just gonna keep on ending it on, on a cliffhanger. This first part is about bringing our newer citizens up to speed on the goals set forth, the methods we go about to discover and decide them. What? The methods we go about to discover and decide them? And follow along with this journey as it continues to develop. It's not that they just started, but they did. That's what I took away from. Yeah, they tried something already, but this summit should have happened way before. But I mean, it's understandable why it didn't. I understand everything, but at some point, there's a perspective that you can take. The first perspective would be, great, they actually started working on it. After all these years, now we can actually see some progress, and now maybe we're gonna get server meshing, maybe even this year, maybe next year. But there's another perspective that you can take, that I'm taking, not because I'm negative or whatever. I mean, I guess I am, but still, this should have happened a long time ago, and I'm not gonna trust it. I'm not gonna trust any of this until I see it, until I can play in Pyro, until we get server meshing, until we get more people on the in the same servers, on the shard, or whatever you want to call it, so we can interact with more people. That's my point of view, at least. So the reason why I said that I'm losing my religion is because honestly I expected this to be that there was more progression before this, that we are closer than we thought to server meshing. But now we can see with this IC that, yeah, we are getting closer, but we're still not there. Because if you remember, and they said it just now in the Chris's letter, and they said it again, they need to separate the replication layer from the DGS or from the servers. And the replication layer is from PES, and they need to do that first to get server meshing to work. So how long is that gonna take? and then how long is it going to take for them to actually do server meshing? We can't know that, and that's like unfortunate, honestly. And I have nothing else to say about that. I am slightly annoyed, but also I am hopeful that we might get server meshing by the end of next year. At this point, what are we gonna get until then? I have no idea. They did something at first, then had to move to PES first. Yeah, now with PES being a thing, I guess they will start from scratch because PES might be different than originally planned. I mean, within its core. Yeah, that's exactly what happened, Legion. And like, that's why I say most of the time that they're not really sure what they're gonna do. They have a plan, but then they realize that that's not gonna work, so they start working on something else. And then once they finish that, they realize that like that either broke most of the other things, or is gonna affect the future and all of the other plans. So yeah, with that said, because this is gonna go on YouTube as a separate video, with that said, thank you for watching, and thank you to all my patrons for supporting the channel. Thank you to all my channel members on YouTube. If you want to support me, there's a Patreon link down in the description of the video. There's like a join button on YouTube. There's also Super Chat on Twitch. There's something else. Follow me on Twitch if you want to, because I'm going to be streaming more on Twitch than on YouTube. And in the end, we have the merch. The merch is amazing. I'm currently wearing it, but also don't buy this, because why would you wear a hoodie with a grumpy eye? That's just like stupid, honestly. So get something else. Squadron 404, 30K crew. Get something funny for yourself. The quality is nice. All the prints were done by me, and that's it. And yeah. Again, thank you for watching, and don't forget to bring a towel when you're trying for space, and bye.